Check, 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 check. Check, check, check. The crazy thing is, I don't know. Um, I don't know. Um, Creatively, I'm feeling dry. well creatively, yeah, it's just I feel better, you know, in band situations. Which Thursday I got that coming. Well, no, tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. I just got bumped up to the first string. I did the second string. That's kind of like the audition. You do your thing. Then, you know, and the people in there, the best of the people in there, go to the first string. So I got kind of like promoted to first string, which like I'm not really sweating it. To be honest, I'm not. I was, to be honest, I was scared. You know, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm not one of those. "Oh, I knew." No, a flop can happen anytime. A bad performance can happen anytime. You know, and I'm glad I'm like that because it forces me to stay on my toes. You know what I mean? I don't. You know, it forces me to be on my toes. You know what I mean? Like that stuff is embarrassing to me. You know, I have something to live up to. I have expectations of my peers, my musical peers. You know what I mean? And it's not it stresses me out. No, it's expectations I put on myself, how I present myself as a musician. Like nah, man, I hold myself to a pretty high standard. You know, and I try to hold everybody to a high standard. Man, I expect good, the best out of people, everybody I know. You know, I'm not pushy with it though. You know, you know. I like to see people prosper. You know, I think that's the one of the biggest joys is like I think that's why God gave me four kids. Um, because I like pouring into I like seeing people prosper. You know, it's dope. You know, because years later, it's dope because years later they come back to you like, yo, remember you told me you saved my life with that, man. I'm glad you told me that. Man, that done happened to me so many times. Like for real. That done happened so many times. And the reason why I do that is because I never had it. My dad was never around. I love him, but he was never around. So, I needed that. So I try to provide it for other people because I never had it. Yo, I'm sore. I'm doing 2 days. You know, I wake up at 4:30. Um, then wake my son up at 5. Work out from 5 to 5:30, and then he does this thing, goes upstairs, takes a shower, comes back down. Then he eats. Then after he eats, me and him kick it. I wait for the bus. Whatever. I got a little area where I got like two nice long chairs, a little table. We sit out there in the morning, or I just hop on a scooter. You know, I'm like, you better walk because I'm not carrying this scooter. So he walks and I ride a scooter. You know, um, which is literally it's like a house away. Like it's like walking across the street. That's how close it is. So I just like riding out there. Um, then my other son, I wake him up by 7. My one son is out of the house by 6:30. My older son, my younger son, I wake him up. I fire everything up here, and then wake him up. He gets up, and then I work out with him. You know what I mean? Like my one son, he has. Well, they both have. They both have because it was off for a while. It was too much for me. But they both have. What was today? Today was leg day. Yeah. So that was cool. You know. Um. Yeah. My son's doing pretty good. He's got ADHD like me. Um. The difference is he's got a lot of advantages. You know. He's got a lot of advantages. I'm he's got a father that's you know got his best interest at heart. You know, because I love my dad, but he introduced me to some stuff, heavy drugs, put it that way. He introduced me to some. Notice I said some, uh, multiple. Girl and boy. I'll just say that. You know. Oh man, I was looking for water too. So I'm expecting a text from the guy who runs this whole thing. Um, he usually has a set list of some stuff that I have. He just throws it at me, and I'm like expected to just walk in and know it. That's you know, it's Monday. I'm gonna be jamming with them on Tuesday. I haven't seen the text come through because I'm looking at my phone right now. So so okay. Wow, it's fast. Um, okay, well, it's like you know 20 to 8, whatever. 25 to 8. He'll probably send. I'll probably get a text at like 10:30. Like 10. Yeah, 10:30. You ready for tomorrow? Here's your songs. Like 10:30. And I'll go on YouTube. I won't even go on Apple Music because Apple Music doesn't have a lot of stuff. YouTube's got a lot of stuff, you know. So I'll go on YouTube and be like, it'll probably take me 20 minutes. He'll send like 15 songs, a good 15 songs of jazz classics, you know, out of the real book, you know. Um, and I'm like, okay, you know, this is like school, you know. So I'm up for whatever, you know. I've never been in a straight ahead jazz situation where that's what you're doing, you know. Now, I was in a band where we did straight ahead along with rock and fusion and you know, a little Afro Cuban, you know what I mean? A little, you know. Um, we tried, you know. Um, so I don't know. I thought I wanted to practice. I really don't. Sorry, guy. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. 10 people in here? Uh-uh. 10 people in here? Wait a minute. Purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain, purple rain. Dag, I'm sorry, guys. I left this talkback mic on. That's a Eric Harlan song. That song is dope. He did it, and I've done this. He wrote it as an exercise. You know, I have songs like that where I write them as just exercises. You know, I have some that have like, well, that's something I'm going to eventually release. You know, I'm gonna release another EP, um, which it takes longer. The other stuff I did, like the albums, I got like one, two, I got like three albums out, two EPs, and like five or six singles. Probably more than that. I did that all in like a 2 year period. Just blasted it out. You know, just a spurt of creativity. You know, but going in another direction, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna end up doing the same thing. You know, right now I'm in that incubation stage of all my ideas. You know, um, so I already have material. It's just fleshing it out and finding the right people to kind of to play what I want them to play. You know, so I'm in the process of that right now, and I don't know. I don't know about for me. You know, God just you know dropped it in my lap. God literally dropped it in my lap. You know what I mean? So um, it was wild. You know what I mean? It was wild. Just like my wife's job. You know, my wife, God dropped. God dropped her job right in her lap. You know, and the thing about it is, I can talk about those kind of things. I could talk about those things because we've had some really, really hard struggles. You know, I've there's always been a lock, like a like an un like it's weird. We are. Hmm, I don't know. We are. This is. You know, I question if I should say this, but we are meant to be married. We knew on the first date that we were going to be married. So much so that we never told each other. It was just a casual date, a New Year's date, Atlanta Botanical Gardens. It was nice. Went out there with some other friends of ours. You know, my boy uh, Jeff and Sylvia. Who else? Uh, Jackie and Yamea. Mike and Shelley Pope. Ben and Timmy. Uh, just a bunch of my people. Um, we all went there, you know, and this was all, like with as far as my wife is concerned, this was kind of like almost like a blind date. I didn't know from can of spray paint. She saw me and she knew who I was, um, but I didn't know. My mind was pretty focused. I wasn't thinking about being married. I wasn't thinking about nothing. I was thinking about just God and just I wasn't even thinking about music. I wasn't doing music. I gave up music. You know. Um and I wasn't intending on going back. evidently, God had other plans, but I wasn't intended. That's another story. Um, um, but yeah, I you know, we went on, we went on our first date, and it was like my boy Q. He was going to he was going to Morehouse at the time, and he was a producer. He was going to Morehouse for law, um, and he was a producer. He used to make beats. He used to make stuff for our church and everything. Our church, they put out, they had albums out, all that stuff, you know. But he um he introduced me. I was talking to this dude. I was doing security. I was bigger then, but I was doing security at the Roxy with my man Mike Pope, who's a preacher. He's pretty big. Um, and he been through some things. He did some things, you know. So me and him connected on that level, you know. But he's a preacher now. He's completely different. Like he's a completely different person. It's wild. Like to see someone I know him, completely different person. Um, really good guy. Really, really good guy. Genuine guy. You know. Um, but he introduced me. He was like, "Hey, how would this is my friend. I don't want to say her name is Blazzy Blah. You know, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? Blazzy Blah. My name is Mark. Blah blah blah. Where you from? No, I didn't even think I asked. Yeah, I think I asked him, hey, where you from? So and so. Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. She's like, where you from? New York? I'm like, nah, New Jersey. I'm like, yeah, I get that a lot. People here, they most people don't hear the difference, and we just laughed about that, and you know, so I'm like, all right, okay, cool. So anyway, I'm like talking to my man. I'm not really thinking. Now, after the fact, she was telling me later she expected me to sit there and kind of kick it with her, and you just kind of, she said I just kind of politely, like introduced myself, made the small talk, turned around. She said, and I was like, she was like, okay, well, whatever, like dang, like this, I'm like, stuff goes over my head, so it is what it is. And I was focused. I'm telling you, I wasn't thinking about marriage. I wasn't thinking about dating. I had just gotten out of a horrible relationship, you know. And I was cool with being by myself for extended periods of time. I was cool with that. I actually prefer that because it keeps your head clear, and it removes distractions, you know. Um, but you know, I'm like, okay, well, I'm talking to my boy. Later on, my boy Q is like, yo, do you have anybody? We're all going to, for New Year's, we're going to Atlanta Botanical Gardens. You got anybody taking? I said, like, not even, are you going? Do you have anybody you taking? I'm like, oh, snap. I didn't think about that until later. So, yeah, do you have anybody you taking? How you know I'm going, but whatever. Um, so I'm like, no, nobody. So he goes like, well, what about Lazy Blah? And I'm like, okay, yeah, shoot, cool. So then my man, he got dreads, big dude. He raps. I can't remember his name. Oh man, he got married. Downtown in downtown Atlanta, big old hotel, the Marriott, I think. Was it the Marriott? It wasn't that big circular hotel. I can't remember what that is. But anyway, um, so there's another woman. And my man was like, he was the dude that rapped. He was like, yo, I got this girl. Because he was going to the same place, the Atlanta Botanical Gardens, for New Year's. He was going to the same place. It was like people, like Dungeon Family affiliates going there. It was like, it was dope. It was dope. This was like back in the day. So so uh so he's like, yo, I got this other, I got this, this female, she real cool, blah, blah, blah. You think about her, what's up, man? I said, and he was like, yo, we going to, the New Year's thing. Why don't you take her? I was like, all right. So then I'm walking. The other chick, I was like, nah, there was something I didn't. I'm of like, I ran the streets for years, and I got the battle scars, for years. I done did the time. I done got, I, done, I could tell prison stories and all of that stuff. I prefer not to, but you know, uh, but you know, so I could judge people. I've had to be able to do that for survival. Like I was homeless for a while. You know, yes, homeless, eating out of garbage cans, homeless. I was homeless for years. Not couch surfing, no, homeless. Walking around at night. I'm from Jersey. I walked around at night. It'd be like 2.5 feet of snow. I'm not. I would sleep under the boardwalk. You can't sleep under the boardwalk in that weather. You would freeze to death. So you walk around all night so you don't fall asleep and die of hypothermia. You know what I mean? So then I was like, I'm telling you. And then I ended up going to I hopped the PATH train up to Newark, and then took that over to New York Penn Station, you know, and I just was like, whatever. I had some people in the Bronx, and I lived with them for a while, and then I got hooked up with this one dude who he used to be a correctional officer, you know, he was a ridiculous conga player, but he was a correctional officer. He got fired because he was like selling drugs in the prison, you know, crazy. But yeah, well, it wasn't a prison, in the county jail. He got fired. But yeah, so um, and then after that, I kind of hooked up with a good music crowd, got on my feet, and then I was living in Brooklyn for a while, and I'll be going from Brooklyn up to the village and back, you know. It'd be a bunch of open jams. The most humbling thing would be, you on the bandstand, and this is New York. Like people don't care. And people think New York is bad. New Jersey's worse, to be honest. But people would be like, yo, we just play. I could pay a crackhead up the street, or pay a crackhead on the subway, to play better than you. So you get it, work it out, do something. You know what I mean? But play the song, like humbling stuff. And they're right. That's what's crazy. They're right. You know what I mean? Like for real. Them spackle bucket dudes, put them on a real drum set. I saw a dude, he was a crackhead, he had a kick, a ride cymbal, a snare, a seat, a snare with the stand, and that's it. With the pedal and everything. And he fixed it somehow. It all fit in like the bass drum, and like it was like collapsible. And then he had the cymbal and no hi-hat, just and it was like the snare, like all of it fit in the bass drum. He was like a crackhead. Like you could tell by his crackhead disheveledness, Yeah, I mean, I'm for real. You could tell by his crackhead disheveledness, But yeah, so, and I've been there. I've had some crackhead disheveledness. Yes, crackhead disheveledness. That's why I can say it. That's why I don't care about saying it, because I can say it. I don't even like. I keep it like honest and raw. I put the shame in it. I keep the shame in it because I hear a lot of people. They like, oh, I used cocaine. You smoke crack. Stop playing. Stop playing. You know what I mean? And I understand it. Like, I understand. I smoked out of a stem. I like to smoke in weed. That's what I prefer. You know, I used to smoke missiles. They'll be like a funnel. Yeah. So, and I've been fortunate because it never, there was a combination of things happening. I was always able to separate that party lifestyle from music. When it came to music and I knew I was going to play, I would just be like, okay, everything stops. You know, um, that's like the only thing that has really kept me focused and alive. Music and really how God has used music to move me through life. You know, so like it's really God. Like it's God. I know it is. You know, and it's not. I hate. It's just something that's just in me. I can't. You know. But I try to have a mixed view outlook on just life. Even the Bible kind of talks about that. It talks about a man or a woman, but a man who fears God avoids all extremes, extreme left or extreme right. You know what I mean? It stays centered. It talks about taking hold of one without letting go of the other. You know what I mean? This is what Solomon said in Ecclesiastes. So that's wisdom. As soon as you hear somebody does something extremely left or extremely right, mm, there's no talking sense into them. They have this, they're blinded by this bubble of, you know, uh, and the Bible talks about this. Talks about there are times where people will have itching ears. People surround them to say what their itching ears want them to say to them, and blah 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 blah. It's either first or second Timothy. I can't remember if Paul wrote it. Um, but we're already there. We've been there, but it's just multiplied. We could sit there and just have this little feedback loop of whatever we want, and if we're not trying to be honest with ourselves, we can easily fool ourselves and lie to ourselves into some kind of delusional worldview of how things are supposed to be, you know? And that's dangerous, you know? I don't know. I think you got to keep an open mind with everything. Everything. Even the Bible says this: do not be over righteous. No, do not be overly wicked. Why would you kill your no because you're gonna end up paying for it. Why would you you know um don't don't be too wicked because you're gonna get caught, you're gonna pay for it. Then it says don't be too righteous. Why kill yourself? Because you and that's basically being right is relative. You know, choose a moral compass and stick to it, and understand that you can't stick to it perfectly, and give other people the same amount of grace that you expect others to give you. You know what I mean? But be like level headed and question things, even with grandma and uncle, Uncle Luke and Bubba and Tyrone and Rashid and you know what I mean? Cousin Boo Boo and Aunt Bessie. Nah, I ain't gonna say I got an Aunt Bessie. Nah. You know. Well even her too. You know. Um, nobody. You know. It's like for me, man, sometimes like I hate I don't know, man. I hate thank you, Blake. You know what I mean? Like I can't like I remember this one time, dude, I'm telling you, man, when it comes to women, stuff go over my head. There was this chick from California. This was in '06 when the Olympics were in Atlanta. And I was like right on the outskirts of Buckhead. That's where my sister lived. And I was just like hanging out there. Yo, check it out. I was on parole and my boy Gil Barracole. It was Gil and Diane Mastro de Casa. Um, and Gil, this dude had like ridiculous money. Um, his father owned like resorts in Costa Rica, and like when you plural resorts, in Costa Rica. But his mom got divorced and blah 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 blah. They came to Jersey, and I met Gil when he first came to like I don't know. I guess it's like primary school. Gil was like he was he came here when he was 3, so he had been here a while, and I don't know. He was always like cool, Me and him, Dave Childers, a bunch of us, Dennis Pacheco, you know, bunch of us, Yu Jung Kim, Andre Kang, a bunch of us. Um, we all just came up. Bobby Davasar, dang, all of them. Oh snap, that's the old crew. You know what I mean? You know what's crazy? I lost a lot of friends to AIDS. I lived in a small upper middle class town. I come from a small upper middle class town. We were kind of fortunate. And my great great grandfather, great great grandfather, um, during Reconstruction, they wouldn't hire black folks. So black folks had to kind of make it happen. And my great great, one of them greats, grandfather, he was a preacher. And he said, all right, he ran a soup kitchen out of his house. Him and my his wife, my great, 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 no, it was my great, yeah, great grandma, my great grandma. Um, um, no, yeah, it's my great grandma. Yep, cause there's pictures of my uncle when he was a baby, when he was like 2, and she was walking him. So it's my great, and it was like him and his grandma. So it's my great grandma. But during that whole Reconstruction era, they would come up from the South and look for jobs, and they still couldn't find jobs in like up north. So it was like, okay, well, whatever, you know. And to be honest, like I don't know, man. That's something else. Let me get back to California chick. Um, I met her in '96 during the whole Olympic craze in Atlanta. Atlanta was jumping. Woo! Well, Atlanta was jumping before then. Um, but I was on parole and I was bouncing back and forth. I'll go up to Jersey. see my parole officer, Pat Murphy. Literally go to my apartment, switch my clothes, wash my clothes, and in the following week, head right back down to Atlanta. It would be me, my boy Gil, and my homegirl Diane Marshall DiCasso. Uh, and we would just be like chilling, you know. My mom had a property out on Roswell Road, you know, which is it's Dunwoody, but it's like right next to Buckhead. It's like you can literally walk to Buckhead. Um, but I met this chick in my sister's apartment building. She lived in this real nice apartment building, and she was like, "Yo, you know, we just started kicking it, just nothing, you know, just kicking it, hanging out, whatever." So I said, "Yo, you think?" I said, "Yo, there was this place I wanted to take her to, and it was like a short walk up there." So I asked, I said, "Yo, oh, this white dude looked at me and looked at me with her, and he looked at me like I was crazy." And I was like, "Oh, snap." But I was just kind of like, it is what it is. I mean, I guess he sized me up. He's like, "I'm not going to try nothing, but what are you doing down here, boy, with that white girl?" You know what I mean? One of those looks. I was like, whatever. But it's literally just popped in my head as I was talking to her. I was like, you know what? I said, will it ever? And she kind of noticed it. I said, well, you think there'll ever be an end to racism? She goes, yeah, I do. I said, it won't. There'll never be an end. Because if we were all gray, we were a bunch of gray people. There'd be the fat people versus the skinny people, or the tall people versus the short people, or the curly hairs versus the straight hairs versus the blue eyes versus the green eyes, and then you know them brown eyes, they dirty, like Dookie. Them brown eyes, you know what I mean? It's all, we don't even like our own kind. Africans don't like nobody. I don't care. You're not African. You're not African American. You American. You're not like no. We black. Check the genetics. Like knock it off. Like you know what I mean. But really, like we all listen. Let me tell you something. We need an alien invasion to get us past all this racism. One enemy, one common enemy. The Klan and the FOI would join forces, mighty forces, to conquer the evil of these enemy aliens. Like, you know, for real, man. Yo, I was watching this thing. I'm looking at this thing. They talking about Tommy Richmond. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm like, sounds good. I'm cool. You know, I used to get all deep into the politics and the social politics of, but I think about this. Whether, like, I can always find a way to get money legally. I was born, like, to always have a hustle in addition to a main source of income. Always make yourself a jack of trades. You don't have to be a master of too many of them. Just know a lot, know a little, enough to navigate yourself, but you know, with a lot of things, and that's pretty, you know, that's taken me pretty far. Um, I've done everything from property management to maintenance. I worked my way up to property management. You know, I worked my way up from a groundsman. I did retail, you know, sold shoes, sold clothes, so you know what I mean. Um, one guy wanted me to work for his law firm. I was like, you don't want to hire me, my brother. I have a record, and he wanted to hire me. And then this other company, they wanted to hire me. I came in to just be a maintenance tech, but the resume I had, like the experience I had, and they were like, "Hey, why don't you be a regional manager?" You know, maintenance manager is like you got one property, you do your thing, whatever. Uh, uh, the next level is you got groups of complexes. Like you got this region, you got them 5 complexes. Go deal with them. These are all the vendors. These are the companies that we use. Handle your business. Meet all the managers. Handle your business. That's your region. You know. And at the time, we were just married, and we were both at that time we were making about I don't know 125,000 together with our salary. 125K a year, which that was oof. 4 kids will drain that. But my kids actually made me up my game financially. The responsibility. That's why when people say, "Oh, you guys got 4 kids," I'm like, "Yeah, what's the problem? How can you afford them?" Like, you find a way. You find ways to make money. You find ways. You find ways, and we're fortunate that God has put us in certain situations where it's like, boom, you know, um, you know. So I don't know. Hmm. I gotta wake my hands up. These feel like they're gonna break.
Sorry about to eat, y'all.